Next up is Horrified.
Designed by Prospero Hall, artist, no one drew it. Published by Ravensburger.
Somebody drew it because it has pretty good artwork.
Yeah.
We'll get into that part of the review.
Excellent art, yeah.
Yeah. So Horrified is basically a game where you're going to be running around as a cooperative team in this city to try to collect different tokens on these different locations and destroy the three bad guys that you're playing against. You can play with more or less, I believe, with difficulty increase decreases, but the standard game, from what I understand, is 3, right?
3 monsters is typically, yep.
Yep. Okay, so if you haven't seen Horrified, it basically takes place with the traditional monsters such as the Thing or
Universal.
Dracula. Yeah, Universal IP monsters kind of deal, like from the 60s, 70s, 80s or whatever, like the horror films from that era, mostly.
Probably
earlier than that.
Earlier than that, whatever. But like Dracula, the Invincible Man.
Yeah, think Abbott and Costello.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so each player gets a character. The character has a special ability, and you're going to draw all these tokens from the bag for the startup and place them on the different spaces of the board. Depending on each token will tell you where they go. Each token has a value, I think 1 to 5. And then you choose the monsters that you're going to play, 6, whatever. Doesn't matter. Anyway, tokens are going out on spaces. There's going to be 3 monsters that you pick if you play the standard. Each one of those has a enemy board that will show you different abilities it has and ways that you have to kill it. And they just kind of start off to the side. It will introduce some things that you might have to put out on the main board or whatnot. And you're going to take their miniatures and place them in their starting locations. And then you're ready to begin. Each player is going to take a turn. And after each player takes a turn, this monster deck, I don't know the actual name, but we're going to call it monster deck.
It's the monster deck.
Oh, God. Boom. Nailed it.
Good job.
Anyway, after a player takes a turn, you flip out one of those cards and you do stuff. So on a player's turn, they have so many actions based on the character they're playing. And those actions are basically to move around a space or to pick up the items that are on a space or to do a scenario objective is what I'm calling it. Like if the monster has something on the board that you have to interact with, that would cost an action. You can cost an action to trade with somebody else who's on the same space, things like that. And sometimes you might have a ability that would cost an action as well. Once you're done walking around, picking stuff up, doing whatever, conversing with everybody to see what the best options are, and you're finished, the monster deck flips out a card. It's going to put new tokens on the board, possibly, and then it's going to activate some of the monsters. And when they activate, they're going to move so many spaces. The card will tell you how many spaces they move and how many dice they roll if they are fighting with somebody or whatever. So if they move, they're always going to kind of move towards the nearest target, I guess, nearest player. Or there's also these villagers that are running around on the map as well. These monster cards will spawn them into play, and they just mostly just stand there until you go and get them and lure them to where they want to go. When you do this, you get a special card, which is like a special ability, one-time use. If they die, though, that's very bad, because there's 2 ways to lose this game. The first way is if any of the player characters die or any of the little villagers die, you move up on the track, and when the track reaches the end, you lose as a team. So even if you die, it's not player elimination. Your character still stays in. Next turn, you just pop up, I believe, on your starting location for your character.
At the hospital.
And then you can start doing your turn as normal. The other way you can lose that monster deck is a timer. So when that monster deck runs out, or you can't draw a card for the monster deck, you just immediately lose. The way you win the game, though, is by killing or eliminating the 3 monsters, or however many monsters you're playing with. Once you kill them all, then you win the game. Each one has different ways to kill it. For example, I'll just go over Dracula, and then we can talk about the other ones if we want to. Dracula he starts the game with 4 coffins in these different locations on the board. You have to pick up all those tokens that are on these different spaces are red, yellow, blue, and you have to pick up so many of the red ones to go and smash a coffin. Because the red ones are kind of like, I guess they are just a bunch of different things, or the red ones thematic to weapons.
Weapons.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, and the blue ones are thematic to like science stuff, like beakers and stuff. Anyway, so you pick up so many red ones, you go smash a coffin. Then you do it again to the other 3 coffins, and now you got to pick up yellow items and go find him on his space and, have enough to kill him. And this is like perfect information kind of deal. So you need like a 6 or greater destroy. It's not like a roll or anything. Anyway, that's how you kill him. The other ones have different mechanisms. I think there's 8 in the game or something.
6 monsters.
6. Yeah. So quite a bit of variation to every time you play the game. Combinations anyway. Anyway, if there's anything else, George is going to tell us. Anything else you want to add before we talk?
Oh, just one of the things that you can do as a player is you can lead the villagers around, either send them to a space that's 1 space away from you or draw them in from a space away. So you have a little more control to move them where you need to because, like you said, you don't want the monsters to take them out.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yep. So
cool. What do you think about this, George? This is your game.
I've really liked this game, but the more it's interesting because the more that I've played it, I see sort of the flaws behind it. Although it's such a smooth game, it's so so well produced, and it's really nice that all the monsters are different, and the rules are very clear, and it's just a great sort of family gateway game. I
think it to me it borrows quite a bit from Pandemic, just on the ways you can lose. Kind of mimics the same thing. The cards that you get kind of mimics the same thing. Even the player powers, it kind of mimics the same thing. You have different amount of action points and kind of somewhat similar type of special actions you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely owes a lot of debt to Pandemic, and
it's almost like they took the Pandemic game and used it as a prototype and just put miniatures on the board instead, and just had like cut up player sheets and stuff. I mean, it really is.
The one thing that's kind of different is instead of like those cubes going out and there was bad things.
Outbreaks.
Outbreaks cubes. Instead of that is putting out these items that you're gonna go gather that you're using. Yeah, it's
almost impossible to talk about this game without mentioning Pandemic, honestly. But the thing that has struck me the more that I play it, the main drawback for me is that ultimately it's still a pick up and deliver game, and everything that you do, like you said, it's the sums that you need are obvious, and so you just know you have to go get these things, and you pick them up. And you
Sometimes
take them
you don't want to
use
too much. This only I don't need 3 or whatever to do this. You don't want to kind of waste a 6 or something.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So there's a little bit more to it. You do want to save certain things for particular tasks. So there's a little more to it than just grab stuff and run different places, I guess.
Have you noticed any combinations of monsters be harder than other combinations?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, supposedly.
Really?
Actually, yes. Even in our game, like it, Dracula was pretty straightforward. The Invisible Man seemed like he was kicking our butt a lot more than anybody else.
Actually, I think we had an easier time because yellow almost wasn't used at all.
We had a fortunate draw of monsters.
Yeah. We only need red and blue, and we only need yellow specifically to kill Dracula.
So we can discard a lot of yellows without fear.
Yeah, helps a lot.
Right, and I didn't mention it, but George was probably going to say it, but basically if you hoard a bunch of tokens when you're attacked by the bad guy does roll dice, and the dice have blanks, they have attacks, and then they have a special ability marker, like a little exclamation point. I just kept going boing every time it come up. But when they attack, if they hit you, you either have to suffer one of the damage on the outbreak board or the death,
whatever it's called. Yeah,
that was a jab. But like, you either suffer a death, and once you get like 8 deaths or whatever, conveniently the same amount, I think.
But you're not really dead. You show up at the hospital again.
Yeah, I'm trying to make a bunch of jabs to Pandemic, so I'll stop. But if you die a bunch of times, you lose the game. But instead, you can also give up those tokens to mitigate the damage.
I thought you have an option
that was
to do
cool.
So it was like, I really need this item. I'm not going to give it up. I'd rather just die.
Just end up at the hospital. The hospital staff is amazing in this game. They're just like, another vampire victim. It's fine.
Yeah.
We'll take care of you.
That's pretty cool. I do like the fact, I think the biggest thing to me was that even though it's not that different, each of the monsters did feel totally different.
And when you mix them together, it does feel very different. So it has a lot of replayability.
In reality, it's basically just they need X number of this value and X number of this value, but it's split up in a cool presentation, I guess.
Yeah. And so the more that I've played it, the more that I've seen, okay, it's still essentially pick up and deliver, which is not my favorite style of game.
Sure.
So, but it started off at like a 10 for me, and now it's
After a while, it goes down and down.
now
yeah.
it's like a 7 and 8. You know,
Yeah.
so I still like it a lot.
Yeah.
So
I would say that to me, I think it says start at 2, and I think maybe 2 would seem like it's going to be really easy, and then 4 maybe way too hard. But we did 3, and we kind of barely eked that out. So
barely. Yeah.
I think 3 is probably fine.
right,
I don't
3
think 4 is doable. I mean,
it
that
doesn't
is
feel like it would be.
that seems insane.
And then 2, I think it would be like way too easy.
I think 4 would be like Samurai Spirit, where you basically
Yeah,
the
perfect
game
game.
either lets you win or it doesn't,
Right.
based on the way it came out.
Well, but that's true. That's true in Pandemic, and it's true in this one. Just if you draw the right cards in the right order, you'll be fine. And if you don't,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do.
Well, what I
Right.
mean by that is in Pandemic, if you're decent, if you're really good at doing a lot of the best movements and figuring out what you do, you can mitigate it with a little bit like some skill.
Yeah.
Whereas
and
I
some
feel
luck.
like Samurai Spirit and some of the other games, you almost
You need a
it doesn't
perfect
matter
draw.
how well you're playing. It's just if you could be playing the perfect, you just have to have a perfect draw or you lose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like playing blackjack against the house.
yeah,
You're
Absolutely.
probably just going to lose based on math, not based on what you do.
right.
And
That's true.
this is, I kind of feel like if you're playing with 4, it's just going to be that way.
But there is as well in this one, the dice makes a big difference. If you roll and the monsters are hitting everything every time, and you're losing
That's
all your
true.
stuff,
Yeah, that's true too.
so you could get lucky and just not have very effective monsters.
Or get unlucky
Right.
and get diced all the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's fun. Dice are fun. You know, it's not. That's an aspect of the game that I actually really enjoy.
So I'm also glad that Target picked this up. I think it does have a lot of mass market appeal to it. So I think it'll introduce some new families, new gamers out. So
Yeah. What do you think about the theme?
I love the theme.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Yeah?
The
Theme and-
art is great. The colors on the board, the little figures are fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great theme, and they can introduce more monsters. And
Oh yeah.
it's going to be like Disney's.
Whether they
Wilderness.
do.
Oh, yeah.
They're
I
definitely
guess
going to
so,
do
right,
it. They're
yeah.
definitely going to add more.
Oh, there's going to be so many expansions of this.
At least 1 or 2.
Yeah, probably at least 1 or 2. But I mean, they could even license it to get monsters from other things.
They could.
They don't have to stick with, with the public IP stuff.
We need the Blob.
The Blob would be so good.
So also I would say
The
that
Predator.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I'm thinking Universal Monsters.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm thinking
They can branch
licensing.
out.
I'm thinking brand.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you make so much money off of this. No, I'm like the sleazy dude in the CEO chair.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's just like a lot of cool opportunities for this.
Yeah.
So I'll say for me, I think it's pretty simple, and that's good and bad. So for new gamers and stuff, and being more mass market appeal, that's going to be really good. However, for more the hobby gamer, I think after playing it some more and seeing all the monsters, the replayability for them might be much lower because it is a simpler game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you think in comparison to Pandemic? Some people say that certain characters that you start with are much better than others in necessity. Do you think any of the starting characters, like the player characters,
Yeah.
do you think any of them are overpowered? Like, do you think we really need to have this one in the game?
I don't know if they're overpowered, but I do feel like there are some that their powers are very useful, like the Explorer, where you get to just show up anywhere you want on the map.
Oh, that was big.
That's
Pretty-
kind of one of the things, or one of the, if I remember correctly, in Pandemic, that's one of the ones that make it or break it from a lot of people, is you have to include the one who can, like, fly around without being near a headquarters. I can't remember it now. Man, we've played this game so many times.
Yeah, I forget what he's called.
Or like the Researcher, which I don't remember what it actually does. Allows you to build
Researcher, it was like you only need 4 cards instead of 5.
Yes,
which
yes.
I'm not sure if that one was particularly needed.
I don't know.
There's one of them that, as an action, you can clear up all the infection cubes
right,
with one
the
action instead of
the medic,
one action each.
or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
That one
So-
was pretty nice.
I think to go back to the theme of it, the idea that it's Universal Monsters, and so it's this sort of like 1930s, 40s kind of very clean. You know, it's called Horrified, but it's not a scary game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Even though
That's
it's about monsters,
It's almost campy.
It's campy. It's something that kids could play. You know,
Definitely.
like young kids could play, and it's not
Right.
scary.
It's not gonna be
It's not
scary
really
to them,
scary
right.
monsters. It's just fun
It's
monsters.
like, yeah, Dracula didn't eat you
Fun
or bite
monster.
you.
Well,
Look,
right.
you're back at the hospital. You're
I mean,
fine.
the Invisible Man. He's basically the mummy with a house coat on. Then they have the mummy. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, there's no gore. There's nothing scary in the art.
About the only one that might be somewhat scary to really little kids was be like the Wolfman, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, he doesn't even look terrifying. Looks like a dog on two legs. So yeah, I kind of agree with that. It's a neat theme, and they could have chose something that would have been much cooler, but at the same time like alienate certain people.
I think this would appeal more to families. Is
Oh,
what
yeah.
I really, more than Pandemic. Pandemic I think is more appealing to adults.
Yeah. I
agree.
But if you have a family with children, this is a draw.
Yeah. Like what I mean by that is like they could have taken this and put it in the D&D world and used D&D monsters.
Oh jeez.
No, I would have picked the theme over
I'm out.
going generic D&D again.
They could have, but
No,
Well, but they
that's
could put
actually the
anything.
appeal-
What I'm saying is they could choose Star Wars. I mean, they could choose any
Oh, yeah.
any theme that you personally find cooler than traditional monsters, but then you narrow the crowd that you're delivering the game to.
Right.
This is just very, open air. Anybody can approach this game. I mean, anybody can play a Star Wars game, but obviously it
gonna
seems
be
like it
more
has a
geared
target
to-
audience.
right.
This
Yeah.
doesn't have a target audience.
if you're looking for a game to play on Halloween next month, this is your game.
There you go.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I say Nyctophobia as well. That's definitely
That's a good one, too.
There's a fly in the room. Well, anyway, anything else you want to add on to Horrified?
Let's see.
Matt, did you check out this one?
I watched them demo it at Gen Con.
Oh, did
So,
you?
Yeah, I stood behind I don't know if it was a family or not, but it was a group of people that were obviously there together.
Were they very excited by it?
Yeah, they liked it. They lost. Barely, though. It was like they were one turn away from beating it, and then something just happened. I can't remember what it was. but-
Oh, yeah. We pretty much beat it on the last turn in the game that we played anyway.
There was one thing, is as far as the monsters and the final task that you do, and you go and you defeat Dracula, for example. I would like it if there was a variant where you got to roll dice against Dracula, or there was some way that that was in doubt. You're going up against Dracula.
It's not a sure thing.
It's not a sure thing at all.
Yeah.
So what if the monsters had a way to fight back?
Oh, they had a way to fight back. That'd be interesting.
Expansion.
I think it would
Make
be
it harder.
almost too random because that one roll it'd be like Arkham Horror, where that one roll can just completely screw you over.
Yeah.
Like almost to a point where we failed that roll, but we spend like 4 turns gathering the stuff and getting you into the spot. There's just mathematically not enough time left.
Right. You would need more time. You'd have to get some cards back.
But I guess to your degree, I mean, if they would have made it like that and built it into the system from the start, then yeah, it could have been kind of neat.
We can house roll it.
Yeah. Maybe do it like that, but like only fight 2 monsters. Something. Anything else, Eric?
No, I liked it. We'll see on how long it kind of lasts for us, but
Yeah, I think
I
it's gonna be
enjoyed the
kind of
play.
like Pandemic for me. Like you play it a handful of times, and it's kind of like, all right, cool. I'm ready for an expansion or a legacy version of it, which is probably gonna happen.
Oh, that's a great.
yeah.
You kill the monsters, but Dracula comes back, bigger and
Dracula's
better than
daughter
ever.
comes back for revenge.
I like it.
That'd be interesting. Anyway, that is Horrified.